Hi there and welcome back to the tiniest workshed in Scotland. I'm Matt Gemmell. It's another glorious day here in Edinburgh. Cloudy, fairly cold, rain pissing down. You can maybe hear it rattling on the roof. I am out here whilst my wife and son are doing some baking, so I thought it was time to do a quick video on one of my favourite subjects. Now, one of the most important things in woodworking is fairly regularly acquiring weird tools that you might never actually use in earnest in real life, but which are just nice to have. So I've got a whole bunch of stuff knocking about here, that each item of which has maybe only seen a handful of uses, in some cases more, but they are interesting to talk about. So let's have a wee look at some odd tools. First up is Marxman. That's M-A-R-X-M-A-N, and this is a marking tool, as the name kind of implies, but it's not a knife and it's not a pencil. It's a liquid chalk sprayer, and the way it works is fantastic. This thing is really handy because it allows you to make marks through holes even quite deep towards the actual surface that you're going to eventually be drilling into. Sometimes you don't have a particular kind of marking pencil that's got a thin enough lead or a long enough lead, or it's just awkward to get to. This thing can help. Let's see how it works. Okay, so here we are with the Marxman. It's got a lock basically so that you can't push the head down if you're chucking it in a tool bag or whatever, but you can turn it so that that little rod can go down there, and then this is on a spring. Got a wee piece of wood with some holes drilled in it. It's from a scrap drawer, no idea what that's from, and just something to represent the surface that you would be wanting to mark to eventually drill into. So this is a bit of an artificial example, since any old pencil would happily go through that. But imagine this was a really deep piece, or you just otherwise a really narrow hole, you couldn't get a pencil in there, something like that. All you do is you just push this against it, give it a wee shove, and it sprays. You bring it away, what you can maybe see, got a wee neon chalk spray mark just there. Didn't even press it very hard, but it's hard in the light in here for the camera, but it's very visible. I mean, it's green, exactly this colour here, and it makes it incredibly easy to make accurate marks through any hole without even marring the surface at all. Just always remember to turn it so it's not going to trigger accidentally in your bag or in your apron pocket or whatever. That's Marxman, M-A-R-X-M-A-N. Super handy wee thing. Next up, we've got this funny looking thing. Contour gauge, sometimes called other things, but that's what I call it. You ever remember those catalogues you used to get with the junk to sit in your desk, and there was a sort of pin art thing? It's this surface with all these rounded top metal pins. You press your hand in it and it makes an imprint. Similar idea, except along this profile. Idea is that you get an awkward corner or a weird shape and you need to make a piece for it, or maybe cut some tiling or some flooring to fit into it, but you want to basically take a record of that contour, then take it away to the workshop and make the thing, and then come back. Now you can do that with a protractor, a pencil, put in a piece of paper and sort of do an offset trace. It can be a wee bit tricky. This, whilst not the most 100% accurate thing in the world, gives you a pretty good idea to work with. So how it works, very simple. Imagine, I don't know, you wanted a trace of my head. Do this. And there you go. These wee things lock it so that you can chuck it back in your bag and you won't lose the shape. And you can take that to the workshop and make whatever it is for my head. Don't know what that would be right enough. Pretty bad example, but that's how it works. Just plastic, nice and lightweight. It's got a wee ruler inscribed on it. I wouldn't rely on that. I could use a proper ruler. But got two of them. I think they came in the same pack. Smaller one, just for convenience. Contour gauge, handy. Next up, super handy tool to have. This. Looks like a hockey puck, and indeed you can use hockey pucks for this same purpose if you're in a place where those are readily available. Like if you're a Canadian, presumably you've got a couple of pucks in your trouser pockets as we speak. But you can also buy these purpose-made things, and they're typically called bench dogs or bench cookies. Just a wee circular sandwichy thing with grippy non-slip material on either side. These ones have also got threads so that you can, you know, mount them on stuff for T-track or attach them to things, etc, etc. And what these do is they help you to keep wood in place on the workbench surface when it would normally slide about, to save using clamps and so on. Let's have a wee demonstration. So here we go, workbench, piece of wood, got the bench dogs here. I have put rubber, this is 3mm, on top of the workbench just to protect it when I'm gluing it and things like that, which adds a wee bit of grip. I mean, obviously it's incredibly slidey on the weather treated MDF there, wee bit less slidey on rubber, but it's still, you know, very easy to slide stuff about. You can jog it, it runs away. These wee things, slap them down, down it goes. Way harder to move around. There's a lot of tasks, drilling holes in particular, that you're going to do all the time, and you just need that wee bit of resistance to jogging the thing. Usually you're drilling straight down, so you're not going to push it out the way necessarily with the line of force, but it can skite around and that can obviously mess up a hole, so you just need that wee bit of resistance. The bonus, of course, also is that it raises the workpiece up by whatever that is. Don't know, looks like a maybe even 20mm or so, which is super handy for not drilling a hole into your workbench. Bench dogs, fabulously handy thing to have, and they come in a nice wee sort of tennis ball tube thing. These are Bench Cookie Plus from Bench Dog Tools. Maybe they were the original and people copy them, I don't know, but super handy things to have. Last but not least, one of my favourite tools in the whole work shed. I say like this is a massive repository of tools. It's not, but one of my favourite tools that I have. I would say my absolutely favourite has got to be the combination square. Love these things. Got two of them hanging up there. These are Baco ones, and these are my favourites in terms of the versatility and the sheer frequency of use that they get. But this tool that I want to talk to you about, don't use it too often, but when I do, I just massively appreciate the build quality and the accuracy and just the flexibility of the thing. Of course, lovely set of calipers. Now, these are from Mitutoyo, which is a Japanese company, extremely well thought of. They make fantastic stuff. There are of course many other makes, and there are lots of different kinds of calipers. You get digital ones, of course. Digital ones, whilst they're extremely accurate and easy to use and to read, this is you know, an outdoor work shed in Scotland. Temperatures during the course of the year go way down, and they can come up fairly high as well, at least in British Isles terms. Batteries don't tend to last too well. And I also just appreciate the you know, the fact that you can make something mechanically that has high precision and that lasts and that does the job without any question of power supply or recharging. There's just something about that that appeals to me. So this type of caliper, it's obviously not a digital one, it's not a dial caliper, it would have a big sort of spinny dial thing if it was. This is a Vernier caliper, and named after, I think it was Pierre Vernier, a French, of course, astronomer, I think, 16th, 17th century, something like that. And he sort of discovered a fascinating thing. How do we look at this? I don't know how well it'll show up in the camera, but you can just look up Vernier caliper. It's spelled, as you would imagine, Vernier. I'll put it up on the screen. You can, see lots of interesting videos showing how these things work. But you'll see that there's the primary scale that runs right down here, and there's this little subscale as well, and this is the Vernier scale. Before we talk about that, just to say there's lots of different types of measurement you can do with this. Obviously you can do an outside measurement where you put whatever it is inside these jaws. You can also do an inside measurement. Say I was measuring the gap between my fingers, these are the inside jaws on the back, so you could get a diameter of something. You can get the step using this face on the lip of something and this face down to the ground, so you can measure the height of something off of a hard surface. And finally, there's a probe on the end there, which can be used to measure the depth down very narrow openings indeed. So you've got an outside and inside depth and a step measurement all in the same tool, all off the same scale, which is fantastic. This is just metric. You get them in combo and you get them in imperial. You get versions that are coolant proof as well, if you're working in an environment where your tools are probably going to tend to get splashed with coolant, or God forbid dropped into coolant, automotive and heavy machine and all that sort of stuff. So you do get variants rated for that. These particular ones are accurate to 0.05 millimeters, which sounds ridiculous. How could you possibly not even measure that accuracy, but how could you read it off of a scale? And that's where this fantastic Vernier scale comes in. The way it works is you take a wee measurement, clamp it around whatever it is, and the way you take a measurement of something, let's use a Marxman, you obviously open the jaws, close the jaws around it, being sure to keep it down here, not up here, because it goes in a bit there. And you sort of wibble it around until you get the right reading, and then you would tighten off this screw here so you don't lose the reading. So let's pretend we did that. I'll tighten it off just so it stays where it is. And there's a 0 mark on the Vernier scale there, and that's where you take the main reading off of the top scale. This is going to be the whole number of millimeters before we start getting down into the points. In this case it would be 22, I would say, and I'm looking at the scale and I can see that the 0 marker on the Vernier scale is just a wee bit beyond 22 mil. So I know that the point whatever part is going to be somewhere in the first third or certainly first half of a mil. This is where it gets funky. You see, this Vernier scale down here has got 10 gradations, but they're compressed into the space of, I think it's either 9 or 11, I forget which way it works, on the scale above. And what Vernier, the guy, discovered is that human beings are incredibly good at detecting whether two line segments are aligned vertically or whether they're off a wee bit. Let me try and do it like that, whether they're aligned that way or whether it's a wee bit before or a wee bit after. And we can actually, via some fancy processing mechanism in our visual cortex, we can detect those disalignments with a higher resolution than we can actually see things in our central visual field. And the Vernier scale uses that. What you do, once you've read off the main part of the scale using the 0 marker on this Vernier bit, not the edge of the metal. You then look along all of the numbers on the Vernier scale and see which one of its tick marks is best aligned with one of the numbers above. And when you find the one that's best aligned, you read it off of this lower scale. And that's since it's split into 10 majors and it's got half marks beneath, that's what gives you the 0.05mm accuracy. My eyesight is rubbish. I'm not wearing these magnifier goggles as a fashion statement, so when I'm reading this thing, I typically get a wee magnifier. Let's try doing this live. As I said, it's just a wee bit past the 22 mils mark on the main scale, so I know that the alignment is going to be somewhere in that first third or half of the scale. I'm looking at it and looks to me like the 3 mark is best aligned. Not 3.5, not 2.5, yeah. So I would say that that is 22.30 mils on the scale. And you know, you're getting that level of accuracy from something that is strictly mechanical. As long as you look after it, don't drop it, make sure that when it's closed it really is at 0. If not, you just get a wee piece of paper, put it in there, gently close the jaws, pull the piece of paper out to clear off any muck. Then this thing it'll last forever, and it's just beautifully designed. It's got this wee knurled disc here. It's not a rotating wheel, it's just a holder for your thumb. Idea being that you hold it like that and you can easily put it over the thing, close it up, and you can adjust it with a lot of accuracy and then lock down that screw. You also get versions that are still Verniers, but there's a push button here and the mechanism is locked until you hold the push button in. So basically you hold the push button in, move it, let it go, and then it self-locks. It's just a different style. If you prefer that, you can get these as well. This is in the range of sort of 50 odd quid. Maybe not quite that, depends whether you want. Obviously coolant proof costs more. If you want the dual scale, I think it costs a wee bit more. They certainly have metric only. I'm not sure if they have imperial only. I imagine they do, certainly in the US market. But it's an absolutely gorgeous thing. And you even get versions that go to 0.02mm accuracy. Probably don't need that for woodworking. But, you know, hell, it's your toy. If you're buying it, buy yourself what you want. It's a gorgeous thing. And the odd occasion that I want to measure something and know that I've got an accuracy far beyond anything that I would possibly practically need, but just for my own personal satisfaction, this is the thing to go for. It's absolutely gorgeous. Me too toyo. You won't go wrong. That'll just about do it for today. The rain is still on, of course. I'll have to make the dash from the shed back to the house. Hope you've seen some stuff that has interested you enough to add it to your online shopping wish list, or maybe like a secret list that your spouse doesn't have access to for birthdays and Christmases, so that he or she doesn't know what daft stuff you're buying you'll probably never use, but which will feel good to have. And I mean, isn't that what woodworking and DIY is all about? It's not just about being prepared, it's about being grossly over-prepared and indeed underfunded because you've spent all your cash on these damned gorgeous things and then you have to find a use for them. That's how it is for me, at least. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you'll tune into the next video as well. Please do click the thumbs uppy thing. Subscribing to the channel would be marvellous, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.